Norton and Friends, Wonderboy Thompson, Tyron Woodley, and Frankie Edgar. What's going on, guys?
Hey, how are you? We're on the air. How you doing?
What's going on?
Yes, we are on the air.
How's it going, man? It's good to see you. What's up, man?
How
How are you?
Doing great.
How's it going, man? Welcome.
Putting these bad boys on?
Yes.
If you want, yeah.
If you want. So you can hear yourselves.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
You're up early to promote this thing. Are you doing promo all day?
Pretty much all day. I mean, I think we get done at like noon. And then we have, then we had press conference earlier today. But, yeah, I got in late last night, touring the city and doing little promo videos last night. We didn't get until probably 1 o'clock. I had to get up early this morning.
How big is it, I guess, for all of you that you get to be on the New York card? Is that in your mind, or for you guys, is it just a fight? Is a fight a fight?
Yeah, it's big for me. I'm a Jersey guy. I was one of the first people lobbying up in Albany with the UFC, trying to get it sanctioned. So, I'm excited to be, on the first card here in New York.
Yeah. Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's Madison Square Garden. How do you not get excited for it?
Yeah.
This is where all the top performers want to perform at, and first UFC fight ever in New York, Madison Square Garden. So it's dope to be on the card for sure.
And
Your mic just went out, Jim.
You did go out, right?
Yeah, it was popping a minute ago.
You want to use mine?
Did you fidget with the wires?
So you go back and forth?
Is there another?
I heard the wires popping, so maybe there's Mars kind of wandering around in the hallway.
All right, you guys talk. I'll get with
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was saying before you guys got in here that to me it's odd that two people that would fight each other would be able to kind of be in the same room at the same time. Not that you guys are going to not be able to maintain yourselves, but the fact that there's not an overwhelming hatred, to start this thing.
This is like a month out.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here to mediate.
It's like a month out, and I don't think anybody's in fight or kill mode. And it's a professional sport. You got to be professional. And at the end of the day, we're gonna fight. So nothing you kind of do right now dictates the outcome of the fight.
But you have said that you, Tyron, don't respect Steven as a man, right?
I knew you was going there.
Because you said it, though.
I said that basically because I felt like we knew we were fighting longer than when I said something on Fox.
Yeah.
And then if you know I'm fighting you, and then from that point you almost act as if I'm not fighting you or scared to fight you.
Right.
Like my resume speaks for itself. I don't think I've been scared to fight any guy. So
Yeah, and
I didn't respect that. So
And we didn't. To be honest, we didn't. I didn't actually know until he actually announced it on Fox. I knew there were some things going back and forth, but nothing was happening that I knew until the day he announced it. So
Did you think he was afraid to fight you?
no, I mean everybody was like, is he afraid to fight you? I was like, I don't think he's afraid to fight me. I mean, if he is, he's he hasn't ever showed that he's ever been afraid of a fighter. I know he's not afraid of me.
Your
You know
dad
what I mean?
got into it with him on Twitter. That was interesting to see.
Yeah, a little fireworks there.
that was weird. It
Man,
was like,
I
I didn't realize it was his dad until like late in the game. I'm like, hold on. I'm not finna be going back and forth with my dad on Twitter. I had to put a timeout on that.
Yeah, my dad, man. I looked on Twitter. I was like, wait, is my dad seriously going back and forth
I
with
thought it
Tyron
was your
right
brother.
now? Well, that was my brother.
Does your dad have any fight training at all, or is he just somebody who defends you?
No, man, he's actually fought back in the 70s and 80s. I mean, he's 61 now, He just trains fighters right now. And, yeah, man, I guess, I'm his son, and you know how that
got all
that
fired
kinda
up.
goes. Yeah, man.
But do you not like your dad antagonizing a guy that you have to fight?
Something like that. Come on.
Yeah,
It kind of helped, it helped promote the fight a little bit, too,
I mean,
So
I
that's
think
cool.
everything helped promote a fight. People don't realize what it means to cement a legacy. When I think about my career and the guys I fought, and I think about the guys that are out there, I mentioned fighting like George St. Pierre and some of these other guys, and everyone made it seem as if, hey, I was passing over Wonderboy. That's not what's happening. Frankie will tell you that if you get an opportunity to fight against legendary guys like that, that puts that notch on your belt and takes you to the next level. We're both trying to cement ourselves as legends in this sport, and that's why I said that. So when people say, oh, you scared, it's crazy because the fans don't understand. They don't understand behind the scenes. They don't understand the financial side of it, and they don't understand what we go through as fighters. So I just had to sit back and just do like this for a while.
Because you're looking
Just
for
let
the
it go.
highest profile fight.
Not even that. I mean, Wonderboy's beaten two top guys, at one former champion, one former contender. So it's not that it's not a high profile fight, but things have a way of working itself out. And as we saw yesterday, I'm going to be in a position where I wanted to be at anyway.
Did you guys, you talk about getting a piece of the gate. When did you find out that Conor and Eddie was the actual main event?
When I woke up from getting a massage last night.
Now, are you saying massage in air quotes, or was it like a legit
No,
massage?
I was getting a legit massage, and I freaking woke up to that news. So
That's great. So that's great for all
you
of
still
you.
had a happy ending in that massage. You know what I mean?
Very, very different than when Jim wakes up with it after a massage.
Yeah, it's usually I'm apologizing and handing over extra money. So you guys are very happy that that's the the main.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's going to be probably the biggest card at UFC history. Why wouldn't you want to be a part of that?
Isn't that crazy to be a part? Like psychologically, what's that like? Because first there was UFC 100, right? And they say this is the biggest card ever, and like UFC 200, and they're like, okay, now this is the biggest card ever. UFC 205 because it's in New York. Now this, and it's such like a young sport that each one of these things is the biggest card in history.
Well, both of them were Conor fights too. The last one they said was
That's right.
was Diaz, and then this one they're saying are the two biggest in history.
When you have something like that going, it's like the mentality. I have an opportunity here to be theoretically if you're still doing the biggest shows in history, anyone here would have the opportunity to be the biggest fighter in history, right? Is that something that you guys think about, or is that?
I mean, I just try to go out there and perform. I don't think I look at the
legacy,
end game. I mean, legacy is something you talk about. I think when you're older,
right?
I mean,
right.
You got to think about it. I mean, I'm definitely towards the more ladder of my career, but I'm not worrying about that stuff till.
How old are you?
I'll be 35 next month.
It's weird to be that young and looking at that's what athletes go through. The latter part of your career, it's like you're still in your early 30s.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not putting a number on anything, but I mean, Father Time doesn't wait for anybody.
Well, and GSP too. If you had fought him, he hasn't fought in 3 years now, or is it 2 years? It's been a while. I mean, it would be kind of. I think he wouldn't do too well at this point.
You'd be surprised, man. These guys are still training. Just because you take time away from the sport, he never retired from the sport, and I think he was a few years ahead of the game anyway. So maybe the game is caught up to where to be more competitive. At that time, he was dominating. Johnny Hendricks gave him a run for his money. A lot of people thought Johnny had won that fight. So before then, he was just had dominating performance after dominating performance.
Do you feel you've been given the respect you deserve as a champion?
I don't really worry about that, to be honest, because the time I would have to take to go out there and try to make everyone like you and try to make everyone understand why you're doing. I have a very clear sight on what I want to do in the sport. And how I want to do it, and I'm doing that. So if it takes my whole career for people to give me the respect, then that's fine, because I really don't do it for everyone to like me or not like me or think of me as a role model. I do it for my family. I do it for the people that support me. Those people I want to prove right instead of taking the negative energy trying to prove everybody wrong. Like, I can go to Twitter and I can have 300 messages. I'm like, go to work. If you put this energy in your own career, you'll be successful.
But sometimes you get into it's hard not to get into it on Twitter once in a while. Like somebody's dad comes after you.
I'll give them a little bit here and there, but just in general, like people will call me and like, Tyron, get off there now. Like, I got 2 or 3 people that know when to get me off, so I just don't do it.
Well, it's hard not to come back because you're not used to somebody confronting you and backing off it.
Yeah, but you also got to understand who these guys are, really. I mean, these guys who sit at home and watch TV all day long. What are a lot of these guys that have no idea what it's like to actually step out there in the octagon.
Faceless.
Yeah, but it's like
I'll
so
write the best comeback, and then I just never press send.
You gotta
write it.
Block.
That's how I get it out.
You gotta press block.
That block button is where it's at. Yeah.
Sometimes I really freak people out. I'll DM them. I'll be like, "Can I suck your dick?" And then I block them.
Wow. That went in a whole different direction.
You've never tried that?
8:15 in the morning.
Well, I'm not going to do it, but they don't know how to handle it. They're like, "Well, yeah, he's a nicer guy than I thought."
Yeah. How do I get him to unblock me? How do I get him to unblock me? But it's also like, I feel like you guys probably get it worse than a lot of people, because the people who would attack anonymously are probably specifically going to want to go after guys who you can't do that face to face with any of you because you're trained fighters. If anybody's not going to get it face to face from people like that, it would be you guys, because you're known to rip people's faces
But we also
off.
give them full exposure. Like no other sport do you see the athletes just walk through the MGM Grand, or you see them doing a signing for 2 hours where fans can just come up and get as many autographs or pictures as they want. We give our fans that access to us time and time again, and then I think they get used to it. And sometimes they take it for granted and abuse it. So they think because they at the shows, they at the pay-per-views, they buying the pay-per-views, or they getting these autographs, they feel like now they own a piece of our company. They bought shares into our company.
Right.
And they can tell us how to fight, who we should fight, what we should do. And we love them, and they're extremely passionate. We just got to take it with a grain of salt. And not let it affect you.
I was watching one time. I was watching Dana sign, and there was a big group of people, and he went over to the stands, and he was actually using people's cell phones to take the. And I'm like, that's why one of the reasons this sport is so popular, because you guys are accessible and you treat the fans so well. And like boxers, you can't get near, and they don't give you the fights you want. I've said that a bunch of times. And it's like with UFC, you get the fights that you want to see. It's great.
Yeah. When I guess this is for any of you guys, but like when you see somebody like McGregor, who is obviously a draw. And part of the reason he's a draw is because of the way he can talk, right? Part of the way he can sell fights. Does that make you guys think to yourselves, I got to learn how to do that too? That's becoming part of this game? Or do you stick to just being like, you know what, let me just stick to what's happening in the cage?
I kind of be just myself. I mean, if I actually started that now, people would just be like, you know what, Steven, just sit down, dude. You know
what
are
you trying to do?
Yeah, what are you trying to do? So, all I can do is really go out there and just perform the best I can. And, hopefully that's exciting enough.
Right.
And Tyron, you said you didn't think that Steven was as humble as he comes off. You seem, because you're such a nice guy. You're like a very genuinely nice dude. And you said you didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that maybe I was misconstrued that I knew about this fight. If he was asking for the fight, just in the past, when I've asked for a particular fight, when that fighter got anywhere near about accepting the fight, especially the way I go after Joe and those guys, they would have told me that, hey, he's on the brink of signing this fight. Like, this was like, when I say weeks, I mean weeks. Like, I was asking for a bout agreement. Like, where's the bout agreement? Where's the bout agreement? Where's the bout agreement? And it was I said 6 weeks. I was way off. His dad, Papa Thompson got me.
He went back,
researched, found exactly the 6 week mark. So it was not 6 weeks. It was definitely several weeks before, though, where I actually said that. And I just, maybe that wasn't the sequence, but I just find it very odd that the champion says yes to the challenger, and the challenger is not notified.
So you think he might have known?
I think he might have known.
You think so?
I found out literally the day you announced it.
I don't think that I can break that, because I text Dana and I asked him, and at that point I still had some legal stuff in my bout agreement. Dana never let us announce a fight without a bout agreement. Have you ever been able to do that?
No.
So I
What's the
text
agreement
him.
called? What's it called?
It's called a bout agreement.
Bout agreement.
That makes the fight official.
Yeah.
So
it's not official until you sign it.
My bout agreement wasn't even signed yet, and I texted him. He said, "Go ahead and run with it. Go ahead and announce it." So in my mind, the knowledge was there. So maybe I could be wrong.
Right, but probably you don't think so though, because Dana White.
You want to get some fire. I can see where you're going.
I'm just saying Dana White's a smart businessman.
Yeah, that's also because you're not sitting between them.
I got a table. I got enough room to duck under it. Is your dad like a cage dad? Like, does he sit there and like, is he very? Because like my dad listens to like every radio show I do.
Yeah.
He always calls me after to let me know.
That's my daughter.
Yeah. You have no idea. I mean, yeah, he's a proud dad, man. So he's up there. If I do an interview, he's like, hey, which one is it, man? I got to look it up. So, we run a school back in Simpsonville, upstate Karate. We're always teaching classes. So I always catch him. When he's supposed to be teaching classes, he's in the office looking at, listening to my radio interview from the next day. So, yeah, man, he tries to listen to every one of them.
You were, Frankie, you were talking about being 35 and being on the other side of it. In terms of age, I guess it makes me think of CM Punk, who was 37 when he just debuted and didn't do so great. Were you guys at all surprised? Like, look, I'm a pro wrestling fan. I didn't think CM Punk would win. I thought that he wouldn't bother going for it if he wasn't going to be able to do something. And then, I mean, to my eyes, he didn't do anything.
As well as you even thought he would do.
I did not. No, he did very, very poorly.
I didn't know what to expect. I mean, Tyron trains with him a little more frequently than any of us, I think. But, I didn't know what to expect. I seen him warming up in the back, and that's when I was a little like, it just didn't look too fluid.
Really?
I was a little nervous for him, I'll be honest.
Yeah. So you kind of thought, you were like, that's not at this stage, that's not what you should look like.
I don't think he was ready for it.
He trained hard, though. They said
he trained
hard.
seriously, but, I mean, you're ready, 37 years old. That's just a tough. He put
tough
himself
spot.
in a tough position. So give him credit for that.
And you trained with him, Tyron?
Yeah, I trained with him a little bit, and the thing about Punk is he trained so hard, it made you want to go. Like I went out on my own dime to go and support him and watch him, because anybody that put that kind of work in the gym, like for 2 years, however long, whatever, I don't know if they signed him a year or two. Obviously, my weeks are off.
I think your dad knows how long CM Punk trained for.
Or CM's father will start attacking him.
So, yeah, it had been a while, and he had been doing like 3 days boxing, privates, jiu-jitsu private lessons. Then he finally got incorporated to the pro training. And, I mean, he took his lumps, and he just kept coming back every single day, driving up from Chicago. So I had to support that, and we didn't expect Mickey Gall to take him down. If I was fighting against CM Punk and I'm like, he's, older, and he hasn't fought before, I'm going to try to exploit his striking. So we thought the guy was going to come out and, try to outstrike him. So we wanted to close the gap. And he just basically ran into a takedown and never had a chance to even show anything he worked on. So
the minute you see Gall kind of going for a takedown,
he didn't see it. He just basically, it looked like he was running the ball and he got tackled.
Right.
So
didn't he swing
at
and
that
miss?
point, I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, he swung and missed, and he just ducked under him, and he took him down pretty easily. It's kind of hard to combat a brown belt.
Yeah, I don't think a whole lot of people understand what kind of pressure probably he was going through, knowing that, everybody's expecting him to lose. So he's probably working his butt off, man, to prove them wrong. Yeah, I got to the point where I was like, man, I want this guy to win. I want this guy to win. You know what I mean?
Yeah, to be that Cinderella story or whatever. Yeah. But it's also, you guys had to think, it's kind of good for the sport that he lost so badly, right? Like, because it lets everybody know that you can't just jump into this. Like this, it kind of gives credit to all you guys that have been doing it your whole lives. You know what I mean? That you can't just jump in halfway through your life, train for a couple years, and do it. It's not possible.
Yeah, I mean, an NBA player can't just come over and say, hey, I want to fight in the UFC. I don't know. Maybe we could. Maybe we could have Tom Cruise versus Brad Pitt up in the biggest fight ever. Who knows?
I think he just had no base, too. Like, you think about Brock Lesnar, who came over. He had a wrestling base. He was a national champion. You got guys that are, Mitrione, who was an NFL football player, but those guys had wrestling. So if you have some form of martial art in your base to draw from, I think you can learn a little quicker. He just did not have the jiu-jitsu, the karate, the taekwondo, the striking, the boxing, or wrestling as a base before pro wrestling. So I think he just kind of had to learn everything. And at that age,
Tough.
He's still in the gym. He's back in there training now. So
he is.
Yeah, I told him I had to pull an intervention on him because he's eating too many damn donuts and at all these restaurants. But he's enjoying it.
Yeah, but I was wondering if the fighters root against him just for that same reason. Because if I see someone do stand-up comedy, like some actor wants to try being funny, who do I root for him to fucking bomb?
You do. You don't mind it when he fails.
Harder than it looks, isn't it? Stupid. Yeah.
At first it was like that, but as it got closer to time, I was like, man, this is. You can see in his face, like you know that there's a lot more pressure than what this guy is actually, showing. So I was like, man. I was like rooting for this guy.
You had to respect him for how serious he took.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he was just, trying to be a name to just jump in the sport. He took it seriously when he hooked up with a good team. And he made a good run for it,
and he walked away from a lot of money. He could have made a lot more if he just stayed in WWE, probably too.
And they didn't match him up with a guy that he was just, this guy was like a striker and grappler. And I'm like, dang, they didn't really, pair him up to the level where I thought he could have, had an advantage.
So, at what point, like in this process, for any of you, does it get to the point where you're at like battle mode? Like, because you were saying when you got in here, not you, Jim.
Oh,
no, wasn't.
Are you ignited beast mode right there?
I just like to cheer from the sides.
It's kind of, I guess it's kind of like it kind of goes on and off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when I'm in the gym, that's when you're like in the zone.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, if you live that, I guess I don't know all the time. I don't know if that would be exhausting or.
It must be difficult. I think about that because, like, psychologically, like, you have to stay in that mode when you're in the octagon. Is it ever difficult? Like, because if you slip out of it even for a second, I would imagine you're like, oh no, I'm in trouble. Like, if you're not sitting there ready to kill, right?
When you're out there,
yeah.
I mean, you have to stay on point, especially with a guy like this. I mean, he's the champion for a reason. So you go out there and for a split second, you're not, ready or. Anything could happen. He could sit there and knock you out, as you saw his last fight.
Right.
You don't know what was going through Lawler's head at that moment. Like, he could be somewhere. He could be
is
somewhere else. Ends up knocking you out.
That was a shocking. I mean, it wasn't shocking that you won, but to knock a guy like that out that quickly. I mean,
How many guys have I knocked out that quickly though?
Well, yeah, that's a good point. Because Lawler to me is such a tough dude, and to see him beaten so completely was shocking.
By the way, that facial expression on Norton's face just now was the immediate thought of, like, what would my face look like if I was getting knocked out right now?
Well, it's just called. Let me just make this point very quickly.
I turned to him like, why was that surprising?
Well, no, but just when you see a guy get beaten a great champion like that, and he's a tough dude, Robbie Lawler, and to see him get beaten that fast it's always a surprise to see.
You weren't surprised, though?
I would quote the Nate Diaz quote, but it's probably I don't know.
You could curse it.
I'm not saying I was not surprised. I thought that I always put myself in a position where I feel like I can be successful, and at any point anybody can get knocked out. But I just think that the fans don't realize how long I've been doing this, how hard I've been training, and it wasn't a night off for Robbie. I just was a better fighter, and I think that's what happened. I beat him, and it wasn't that I did something special. I saw a punch, I took the punch, and I finished it off the job. So I wasn't surprised that I won. Was I surprised it happened in the first round? Possibly. I thought he would, been kind of looking for me to come out, guns blazing, but just in general, I had prepared to come out gun blazing for 5 rounds. So, no, I wasn't surprised.
There's just certain things that happen that as a guy watching a lot of fights, I was surprised that Conor beat Nate in a 5-round decision. I never saw that coming. I never would have taken that bet that he was going to win a 5-round decision. Just certain things happening. You're like, wow.
So you never thought I was going to win the fight?
I knew you were going to win the fight, but I just didn't think that Robbie would get knocked out that fast. Because I after what he did to Johnny Henry, I just didn't see him getting knocked out immediately.
That's what makes this game so exciting, though. You know what I mean? You really don't know at this point. I mean, because the game's always evolving. Who's going to win? I mean, who do you pick? Because you never know. I mean, look at, who was it? Bisping and Rockhold. Nobody thought that Bisping would sit there and knock him out. I don't remember what round it was in, but you know what I mean? You never know.
But you're now, right, you're fighting a guy in a month and a half who just across the table from you said he was planning on coming out guns blazing all 5 rounds. So it didn't matter. Like, are you sitting there going like, oh, he does have the ability to do that. I don't want that to happen.
Not at all, man. I mean, in my head, every fight that I face, I'm thinking it's going to be the toughest fight of my life. And, you got to be prepared. Yeah, you got to be prepared for that.
Are you looking at kind of at least psychologically at this point sizing each other up, and are you looking in his eyes and vice versa to see if there's any fear whatsoever?
No, I know this guy's not. You know what I mean?
Have you ever found
at this level?
I've always been able to look at a guy's eyes and see what type of fight I'm in for. And when you're in the weigh-ins, I'm not trying to talk stuff. I'm not trying to go all nuts, but I can look in your eyes. I can see what kind of fight. I've looked in guys' eyes. And I'm like, this dude's he's going to war. Some guys have been indecisive. Like, I fought Carlos Condit. He didn't know how to deal with me. I can tell he didn't have the Rubik's Cube figured out. And some guys, I just felt like when I fought Koscheck, he just had this defeated look in his eye, and I knew I was going to get him out of there. So I'll be staring in deep and seeing what kind of fight I'm in for. But I'm down for any fight, to be honest.
Yeah.
Doesn't a guy like Aldo not look you in the eye though? I noticed when he walks out, maybe I'm just seeing it wrong, but he seems to kind of look down.
Yeah, I think in weigh-ins we looked at each other, but the square up in the cage, he looks down. Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think that's about? Because he's obviously not afraid.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just maybe his thing. Some guys like to act crazy. Some guys look down. Some guys look to the left. I don't know. It's just,
does it affect you anyway? Or you don't give a shit?
Nah, it don't matter to me. I try to stare at one eye. Fuck with him.
Frankie, I like how you trying to act like you older. You only 35. We're all the same age. They keep trying to outlay you like, oh, he's on this. I'm like, I'm 34. I think he's 34. And you 35. So we like the same age.
I'm not even 35 yet, so hold on.
He's 34. Frankie, do you feel the same way as Tyron? Like when you at the weigh-ins? When you look at somebody in the eyes, can you tell a lot about the fight, or is that not?
You can, but sometimes it throws you off. You don't know.
I
don't try to figure people out by their
because the last thing you want to do is see weakness in a guy's eyes, come in overconfident, and realize, oh no, that wasn't weakness.
Yeah. I just worry about myself, how I'm gonna step in there, and how confident I want to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have a ritual when you walk into the cage? I'm always amazed at guys who walk in a certain way, and then you'll see a guy like Stipe Miocic who just kind of walks in just casually.
Just walks in.
Yeah, with nothing, and then there's other guys.
He was just talking regular, and he was like, hey, so what are you doing? Oh, hold on, I got to go out there and fight. It was weird.
Yeah, man. I mean, before the fight, I don't walk out there any certain way, but before the fight, man, I'm back there sleeping. I sleep right up until
you do.
I get up, I warm up a little bit. Next thing you know, I'm back there. I'm just.
You almost set me up for alley hooper, but I'm not gonna take it.
I'm sleeping.
Yeah, that's an easy one. So you're not
sleep before that?
Huh? Yeah, I don't know, man. I've been fighting since I was 15. That's just one way that I cope with everything. You know what I mean? I just sleep.
Are you an easy sleeper in general?
Oh my god, I could lay down on this table and fall asleep right now.
Isn't that nice to have that kind of
it drives me crazy. I can't sleep in a king bed and you're dozing off in the back.
Fuck. In a locker room before you fight in a title fight. You're like,
Dr. J said that. Remember we interviewed Dr. J one time and he said that for him it's being able to sleep anywhere is one of the greatest advantages because you always have extra energy over your opponent. And he said he could doze off in the car, on a bus, anywhere. I just can't do it.
Oh man, I love my sleep. I love my sleep. Wake up at the crack of noon. Get ready to go through the day. I love my sleep. Got to have at least 15 hours.
15?
I'm kidding.
What about you, Frankie? Do you have any rituals before a fight?
Not really. I think the ritual is that I don't have a ritual. I try to do things differently. just so I don't have any superstitions or anything.
This way, if something goes wrong or something different happens, you're not like, oh, I'm fucked.
Oh yeah, I didn't do this time.
You don't get the same guy to tape your hands.
Yeah, no, I'm not like that.
Right. You just worry about it. Again, you're more of a task at hand guy. Let me just make sure I do my job tonight.
Yeah, that's it. Just show up, get the job done, and move on.
Yeah. Tyron?
Yeah, our guys in our division all bring something different. Everybody's a completely different fighter, but everyone does at least one or two things real dangerous. So I might have a different training partner, so I might be doing something different. But I just want to make sure I'm warm, that I got a good stretch in, and as long as I get that, I'm good.
I got you.
Did you guys watch the debates last night?
No.
I watched all the filters that they put on the faces of Hillary and Donald, which was hilarious.
But you missed the debate. That's not really your... Isn't that nice? When you can be like, when you can excel at this level at fighting, you really are not responsible for knowing what else is going on in the world. You're like, as long as I focus on this is what I have to do.
I don't think those two know what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I think about when I think about this election. I think just that both of them they rub certain people wrong way, and it's like almost like, what are we gonna do for the next 4 years?
Like it doesn't either way.
Either way, it feels
we're...
like we in for a surprise.
Yeah.
What did you do before you fought? When you were younger, what did you do?
Wrestled.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I wrestled forever.
Did you always want to be a fighter, or before that, did you have something?
Man, I wanted to play football, to be honest, but my coaches in high school thought I was going to be too small, which I ended up not being too small. But I always wanted to play football, but I wrestled as well, so I had a chance to go to college for wrestling, so I said, all right, I'm going to do that.
Tyron, you also have a podcast.
Yeah, the Morning Wood Show with these
nuts.
nuts.
Right. That's right.
With these nuts.
The best
Morning
name
Wood
ever.
with these nuts.
Who came up with that? Was that
Actually,
you?
Jessica gave us a stamp of approval. We went to the fans and try to get some names for the podcast, because me and Dean are you idiots sometimes. So we decided to become these nuts, and since my name was Woodley, we decided to go with the Morning Wood Show.
Oh, okay,
you
so
can't forget it.
The two of you combined are these nuts.
Yeah,
and
the Morning Wood Show.
The Morning Wood Show with these nuts.
Well, I figured you would get that. Send those
I know
horrific, filthy DMs.
No,
You gotta watch this dude.
he got what Morning Wood was. He just didn't know. He didn't. The problem is with Jim. He just thought Morning Wood. He didn't realize that was your name.
Oh,
you know what I
I
mean?
just didn't
He
make the connection. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes perfect sense. And you do it. I know you do it in Florida.
No, we actually
God
do
damn it.
satellites. we do satellites. So one time I was in India, Dean was in Korea, and the producer was in LA. So technology is just crazy.
Why were you in India?
I was in a movie in India.
Indian
Yeah, I was
Bollywood?
not dancing because I know you're gonna ask.
Oh,
me.
okay.
You didn't
Yeah.
sing or dance or
I
anything.
actually like
like
it at the end movies like
It was
that.
actually an MMA movie called Sultan, and the most popular actor in India. I think he's probably 4th or 5th overall in the world for as far as much money he's making, like 50 or 60 million a year in acting, which is nuts. So I did that movie, and it's like broke every international record. So.
Is that what you want to get into, acting, or is that just a thing you were doing at that moment?
I do it in between fights when I have a chance, but I just have seen guys in the past that focus too much on entertainment and take away from fighting. So I've turned down 4 or 5 projects, and people looking at me like, oh, how can you turn that down? And I'm like, well, that's almost like you asking me how much money we make, because you don't understand that fighting, you're only going to make this type of money, this period in your life, and the movies things will be afterwards.
Is that what you think happened to Ronda Rousey?
No, I just think she lost. I mean,
That wasn't.
I think she lost a fight against a girl that had a good game plan against her, and that was it. You know, I don't think.
You don't think he was distracted by the entertainment world
you
around
can get
her?
distracted by owning the gym. You can get distracted by sitting up on social media all day. So distractions can come however you want it. But I think she was a high-level athlete where she managed it for so long that I don't think it was that big of a distraction. She was probably able to tolerate it. She just got beat.
And how about you? Any acting or anything? I am amazed by how many fighters do these like entertainment.
Nothing
projects.
yet, man. I mean, if it comes my way, then probably. But as of right now, just full-time fighter, man.
I can't wait till your dad threatens to beat up every bad movie reviewer.
You would be the guy to do that.
Yeah, you were like, what were you like? Were you 47 or 57-0 as a kickboxer?
57-0 as a kickboxer.
So was your first professional loss against Matt Brown?
Yep, sure was. It was my second fight in the UFC.
And what was that like taking it after that many wins?
Oh my goodness. It was, of course, you felt bad, but that was probably the best fight I've ever had. As of, you know what I mean? Just with the change after, and what I've learned during that fight, that was the fight. I mean, it was rough. I mean, the whole process. You know, I was new. I mean, I had my first fight in 2010, and then in 2012, I'm fighting Matt Brown. So it was like, you know, I didn't have the wrestling, didn't have the jiu-jitsu. The first day that UFC called, I was going to turn him down because I felt I wasn't ready.
Is there a pressure that leaves like after your first loss? You know what I mean? That you don't have to maintain that sort of undefeated.
Yeah, there was a crazy amount of hype. You know, for me coming into the UFC for a beginner, you know, fighting for the UFC at first, and then just with that first loss, it just kind of it went away. It wasn't as much pressure, and now I can just go out there and fight. You know?
Yeah, I always wondered if being undefeated was harder. Like when Ronda was, I think, 10 or 12 or 13-0, whenever.
Yeah.
I just keep saying numbers, and then she finally lost it. Maybe it fucked with her, but it seems like if you get a loss out of the way, you don't have to obsess over, you know, being undefeated for the rest of your career.
But you think you'll probably win at Madison Square Garden?
Of course.
Oh boy,
Of course not.
That's not good. Tyron, how come you got into podcasting?
Just because it's our own filter. It's just a way we can communicate and let people know what's on our mind, and we don't have to make it specific for whether it's a UFC or Fox or whatever. So it's just we can have fun. We can go over topics, politics, and it's just our way of kind of expressing ourselves.
Dana doesn't care what you say or anything like that.
I mean, we can't just go out there and go ham on it. But I think in general, we get edgy sometimes, but I don't think we just go, you know, in a place where we put our jobs in jeopardy.
Well, the
Right.
kind of stuff Dana says too, which is great
That's
in
true.
interviews, he never seems to hold back. So that's got to be an advantage of a boss who.
And
kind
Dean
of,
works with him too. They do looking for a fight, so he's one of the guys on that show with Dana. So I think he kind of know Dana a little bit more, and if it's something that we probably shouldn't say, we probably won't do it.
Have any of you ever gotten scolded by Dana White? Because I mean, I started becoming fascinated by it after Brock Lesnar in his run with UFC, not this last one, his run, when he did his promo about Bud Light and everything, and then, you know, half an hour later was apologizing because obviously the wrath of Dana had come down. Have any of you ever had to...
I haven't experienced that yet, but I've heard some stories.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I heard he's pretty rough if you know, you're doing something you're not supposed to be doing, but I haven't felt that wrath yet.
He's texting me some stuff he didn't like. I said,
Yeah.
yeah.
How do you-
Nothing. I just was talking shit about some fights that I didn't get or something in an interview, and he said I sound like a maniac and this and that, and tells your problem. But it was cool, you know.
Yeah.
did you apologize or did you just fucking
No.
write LOL?
Yeah, I was just like, just trying to get mine. Just trying to get mine.
Send some emojis.
Calling fighters out seems to be like the guys that do that. Like Mickey Gall got himself the CM Punk fight. And
Yeah.
then he calls out Sage Northcutt. There's something about that you know, it seems to work.
It
It's
gives-
entertainment, man.
Gives
Yeah.
some traction to it, you know. Makes it a story.
Tyron was unusually silent when he was talking about getting scolded by Dana White.
Hey, I know what I can say and can't say.
Has he yelled at you or no?
I think he's yelled at, you know, anybody who's asking for a certain amount of money or fights. Everybody's going to get yelled at. But if you know Dana, he gets over things really fast. He's not going to hold a grudge, and you know, just in general, it's business, and I think he's used to doing business that way.
How do you guys lock out once you really get into training mode? Like, how do you lock out the rest of the world? Like we were talking about, you know, not focusing on the debate or whatever, but I'm assuming once training starts, you really have to not only lock out what else is going on in the media or whatever, but I mean, like everything, right? Just to focus in on what's going on.
You got to have a good circle, a good team.
That's what it is. You just lock into
If
this.
you filter certain things shouldn't reach you. Certain things that aren't important, certain things that aren't important to you shouldn't reach you. So if you have a good filter and a good circle, that make sure that things that are important to your training and, you know, doing well in the fight that you know and have knowledge of, and things that aren't, you don't.
How long does it take you to establish that circle?
A long time.
So you have to
gotta
trial and
constantly
error.
and you got to constantly evaluate it because sometimes you start making it edge up and some people start dropping out of the circle.
Right.
Is it hard not to feed into the other stuff? I mean, for me, it's almost impossible. I can't. We talked about Tiger Woods a lot, and his whole crazy ritual when he finally got, you know, when it all fell apart, he stopped playing golf well. And I thought part of it was probably part of his ritual. Part of the stress relief was doing all this crazy texting, and you know, is it hard not to feed into that outside stuff?
Man, for me, no, not at all. I mean, when you got to fight, that's all you focus on. You know, of course, you got little things, little breaks in there that you do, so you're not thinking about it all the time, so it's not too crazy. But you know, for me, it's teaching classes. But yeah, man, when it's time to train, is business.
You actually like teaching classes.
Love it, man. I didn't become the fighter I am, if it wasn't for teaching too. I started teaching when I was 15, and I don't know, man, it's something about it, you have to understand it more when you have to teach it, especially to kids. You know what I mean? So it's fun, man. It's fun. We party down.
Is your dad going to be at the Garden?
Oh yeah.
He will be.
Oh yeah.
You better watch out, Tyron. You better watch
Will he be in your corner or no?
Yeah. He's always in my corner. He's always in my corner.
I'm always amazed. Whose corner just got into? Have you ever had your corner? Was it Fabricio Verdum? He threw a kick.
Yeah. He literally front kicked him. You know.
Edmund, right?
Yeah.
And then you had
to the face. Though it was like kind
It was
of
to the chest, right? Yeah.
You never know who's
just to
going to
keep
get
the guy
kicked back.
back.
You never know who's going to kick because you got Big Country kicking the ref.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Was that last weekend? Yeah.
Yeah, that was. That's one thing I've never seen before: was a ref getting kicked in the ass.
No,
I think he kind of knew Big John. I think he was maybe a little friendly with him. So
Yeah, I mean, he didn't. He he just touched.
Because he didn't get in trouble with him for that.
Nah, I don't think so.
Well, the fight happens November 5th at Madison Square Garden. There's going to be a press conference tonight.
12.
We
number
fighting a
12.
week early now?
12.
Oh,
Yes,
this
I'm
thing says-
sorry. He always does. He tries to sabotage UFC. No, it's the 12th.
November 5th, you're going to be there by yourself.
November 12th at Madison Square Garden. There's a press conference tonight at 6 p.m. at the theater at Madison Square Garden. There's free tickets available to fans at the Madison Square Garden box office for the press conference. Not for the fight.
Not for the
I'm like,
fight.
damn, UFC getting generous. Like, we need some more tickets they giving away for free.
Tickets to UFC 205 are going to go on sale on Friday, but I mean, to say this will sell out quick would be the understatement of the century.
This card is amazing. We talked to Danny yesterday for an hour, and of course he didn't tell us that he actually had Conor and Eddie as the main event. Are you guys the co-main?
Believe so.
I think so, yeah.
It's the welterweight championship. I mean, Tyron Woodley against Stephen Thompson.
There's 3 title fights, so I don't know how they're going to.
It's going to be exciting.
Yeah,
man.
and Jacek against Kowalka. I can never say Carolina's last name, so just say Joanna's fighting.
It's going to be good. Well, thank you
And
guys.
Frankie Edgar,
Thanks
of
for
course,
having
against
us,
Jeremy
guys.
Stevens.
Yeah, it's going to be good, man. It's going to be a good night.
Yes, thank you guys.
And
Thanks for having us.
we're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Right back.